So this video is going to hit home a bit differently. Based on the title, it implies some type of review for the game, but in reality, this leers more on the personal side more than anything. I mean, I'll still discuss a few elements of the game I love and all that, but it's mostly bringing a message alongside my admiration for Mega Man 03, from my earliest experience with it to current day. In fact, my love for this game goes deeper than you think, as the Mega Man franchise in general has been very dear to me ever since I was a little boy. I know this will be a weird video where I'm mostly just talking, but if you've got the time to spare, I hope you enjoy this little story. All Mega Man games have a special place in my heart, but none other hit me quite as hard as the Zero series. At the time of Zero 1's release, I was just an elementary school boy, months away from middle school. When I heard Zero had his own game, I just about flipped at the time. If you've been living under the most gargantuan freaking rock for the past few years, then you should know that Zero is my favorite character in the franchise. No, I'd go as far as to say he's one of my favorite characters of all time. So, learning he had his own series? Consider me signing the hell up as soon as I could afford it. Of course, with my family not being rich, I couldn't get it immediately. And as a full year passed, I got desperate and just emulated it. Worth it though. I could make a full video on my entire history with Zero series itself. Heck, same for the entire franchise really. But this is focusing on Zero 3, the game that captivated me the most. After having my mind blown away from Zero 1 and 2's experience, because my parents actually got me a Zero 2 copy, I was itching for the third installment. Hell, at the time I didn't even know if a third one was on the way. So, teenage me wasn't too bright enough to research anything. Guess what he did instead? He searched freaking ROM lists on various sites for months, wishing that a Zero 3 would just magically pop up. But what if I told you that actually happened? Well, not in the way that you'd expect. You see, one day I went into the R section of a list and noticed Rockman 03. Okay, so I may have been a dumb kid, but I wasn't that dumb. I knew Mega Man's Japanese name, so I knew a third installment when I saw one. At first I thought it was just a prank, because believe it or not, those types of ROMs did exist. It was the most Rick-rolly you could get in the 2000s, but out of curiosity, I got it and considered my teenage brain destroyed. I mean, it was all 100% Japanese, but it was a Zero game, in and out. I couldn't understand a damn thing that was on the screen, but I played enough Mega Man and the first two Zero games to at least know what I was doing. Somewhat. I couldn't understand the story, but I noticed the quality of the game from just the first 10 minutes of playing. I was still pretty bad at the game at the time, but I knew how to not die a lot at least. The fact that I didn't have to deal with the level up system anymore and I could just triple slash and charge attack from the get-go made me gush. The foreign text made me clueless as to how the new elf system and the chip system worked in detail, but playing around with the menus helped me come up with placeholder solutions, enough to realize how amazing it was to get abilities like double jump back from the X series. Seeing that it was better than it was in the X series and having a variety of other chips like quick charge gave me a great first impression. I got a gist of how the satellite elf system worked, and not being penalized for it was so based. I sucked back then, so I remember slapping on the elves that granted you double HP and the rolling slash. Yes, my rolling slash fetish started as early as a teenager. That's where it came from. I wasn't too woke on the record rod at the time, so I barely used it. Oh boy, if I went back in time, I'd tell kid me how absolutely foolish he was. I was about as buster and charge attack spammy as any newcomer was, but I managed to beat the entire game in Japanese, and yet I was still left unsatisfied. I had to play the game in English to understand it all, and sure enough, GameFAQs wrote an article about Zero 3's release, and trailers were already coming out. Being likely one of the first people in America to even finish the game before it even came out over here didn't even register in my mind at the time, but I still found myself obsessed. I did get my own history a bit twisted though. I recall buying Zero 3 with my own allowance money, but turns out I did that with Zero 4, not 3. Zero 3 was a Christmas gift along with a new Game Boy Advance SP. My parents knew I was crazy about Mega Man, and to my surprise, they got the game without me even asking for it. Well, mainly because my old Game Boy was stolen, along with my copy of Battle Network 3 Blue. Oh, rest in peace that. I didn't even get a chance to finish that game before somebody stole it. So, they knew I really wanted another Game Boy. Add that to a new Mega Man game coming out, and picking my Christmas gifts were very easy for them that year. In fact, I still have my SP and my original Zero 3 cart. I still appreciate that, Mom and Dad. Having the game in English, it was beautiful. I can recall all the hours of the day I put into that one game, and when 04 came out, it was just a big alternation between the two, primarily playing 3 though. Being a kid with little to no one to hang out with, I turned to games as an escape. Mega Man filled that void a lot for me. And at that particular point in my teenage years, that reality sunk in. 03 came in at a point of my life where the early stages of my depression manifest itself. So having this really amazing game with intricate gameplay mechanics served as a much appreciated escape. I wanted to get better at the game. Not just because I loved it, but because at the time I wanted to prove I was good at something. When you had an older brother like mine who constantly felt the need to belittle you and relay to you that you basically sucked at everything, the fact that he was a bigger, better, and stronger person than you, it weighed on my psyche. I dealt with a lot of that as a child, something I shouldn't have gone through, along with a myriad of other things I won't get into because I'm not here to tell you a damn sob story. I'm here to tell you how much this game rocks for being both a masterpiece and helped me feel better. The ranking system may not have been all that relevant until 02, but having the game outright tell you did good by scoring well helped younger me feel a little better about himself. Constantly replaying the game to get a feel of the level design, doing little challenge runs to improve my reflexes, and eventually going for 100-point runs really gave me some more confidence in myself. I didn't play the games much in high school because newer games stole my attention and I was also going through some more rough times. However, there was something incredibly therapeutic about cutting on a Mega Man game when I was feeling down. That happens a lot in my late teens to early 20s. And you know which Mega Man game I turned on the most? 03. As I grew older, my mind was sharper and I continued to play my best at the game. At that point, I accepted nothing less than an S rank in every playthrough I did, and that became easier as I played the game more. When the world and my peers kicked me to the dirt, I just had to lick my wounds and retreat to the sanctuary of my own room. On days where things felt like they dropped south real fast, a quick game of 03 was there to help unclog my mind. All of those replays weren't monotonous either. As I played more, I was made privy to how damn good the recoil rod actually was. Being able to pogo off platforms, enemies, and even send them flying into each other was one of the coolest yet hilarious things I've ever been able to experience. I still remember fondly of the day I did my first saber and rod only S rank run. Oh man, good times. Imagine my surprise when I learned from Game Facts that you could actually combo with the X skills. It was like my refusal to drop the game was rewarded with new ways to play it. If you guys lacked the resources like I did back in the day, you would appreciate this gem a lot more if you had to discover most of this stuff on your own like I did. I didn't have the luxury of anyone holding my hand, and by the time I did know of new things like the combo system, I was already good enough at the game to immediately implement it into my regular playthroughs. I continued to get curious. Speedrunning was blowing up at the time, and the moment I discovered Zero Series speedruns, it was over. I told myself I had to get that good, or at least close to it. This came at a point in my life where my self-esteem was truly shot down. I didn't know what to do with myself, and I had a hard time believing in myself. However, I made a silent deal with myself. If I can get good at this, then I can definitely devote that energy and dedication to discover who I am and what I'm capable of doing. Then use that knowledge to improve my life. 03, just like the rest of Mega Man, saved me. You can say it's just a video game, but that's not the point. Being motivated to do good in something was exactly what I needed. That same energy I used to get better was used to pull myself together and start working on myself. By the time I was 23, I took notice of my passions and realized what I wanted out of my life. And even to this day, I'm steadily working towards those goals. All it took was a well-crafted game packed with a plethora of ways to play it to tell me that I was a hero or a legend. The legendary game that is 03 is my hero. It's been with me for so many years, along with the other Mega Man games I hold dear. While the recent boom in my channel helped create an additional revenue stream, recording my no damage runs are first and foremost personal achievements I love to archive. There's something I can always look back on and say, you're good at this. Having my channel as a source of inspiration helped inspire me to chase my career as a writer. That's a much more difficult journey than playing old games repeatedly to get good at them, but those old games taught me how to be persistent. 03 is a masterpiece that went through its own growing pains as well. The 2 games before it paved the way for it to becoming the stellar second sequel that it was. The Zero series went through its own rough edges like I did, but eventually shaped itself into something great in the form of 03. Greatness. That's actually what Magnus means. I never saw myself as great, but I thought maybe one day I could aspire to that status. Maybe I'm not there yet, but if my writing ever takes off someday, maybe I'll have Magnus somewhere in my pen name. 03 contributed to giving me confidence the more I played it. Its intricate combo system, fun weapons, and and refined systems like the elves and ships gave no end to the amount of enjoyment I had with it, which is probably why I never got bored. Having a game with unlimited layers of fun to indulge myself in while I got myself together is something I appreciate a lot, so I owe Inti Creates big time for developing my favorite game ever. Heart clearly went into the game, and it certainly touched my heart too. Speaking of that, wow, over 5,000 subscribers already, huh? To think, the year didn't even pass yet, and I've gotten this much support for my videos. Honestly, 2021 was supposed to be the year that I was going to retire from this whole YouTube thing, but seeing all this inspires me to keep going with this thing. I could consider this my Christmas gift for this year. 03 was a Christmas gift for me many years ago, so I'll end this by saying Merry Christmas, and thank you for watching my videos. It means a lot more than you think.